Okay, this video is going to go over z-scores. So when we're looking at the standard normal curve, all of those values that are on my x-axis are actually called z-scores. So we're standardizing all of our information. So all of these are called z-scores. And there's a formula to find z-scores. That's so that we can work back and forth from whatever actual mean is to the z-scores back to what our actual data is. So our formula for z-scores is, so z equals any x data point that we have minus our mean divided by our standard deviation. So that is how we find each z-score and put it all of our data and basically standardize it and squeeze it into this perfect histogram. So there are a few ways to do problems, and one of those ways is to actually look at, there is a table that someone came up with of all of the z-scores that we would find. So I'm going to put that table on here and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, so here are our z-scores. So you can see them over here to the left. We have z-scores. And then to the right where the other graph is, we have the positive z-scores. And what you'll see are all these numbers inside, which look really crazy, but it's not. It's actually measuring. If I were to look at the first graph on the left, I'm actually shading a portion of the graph. So if you look at 0, where the 0 z-score is, so let's see, 0, we can look over here. So 0, it's easiest to see right over here. 0 is actually 50% of my data, meaning I'm shading under the curve 50%. So that is 50% of my data that we're looking at. So if I want to do other problems, let's say, and I like to draw curves for this so that we can see what we're doing, but let's just do one that's the z-score is less than negative 2.46. So let me, oops, I keep drawing on this, dang it. And now it won't let me erase those. Okay, good. Okay, let me shrink this down now that I'm figuring out what I'm doing. Okay, so we're gonna say that what is the area under the curve if z is less than negative 2.46. All right, so let's zoom back in, and we're on the negative side, and it was 2.4. So here I have 2.4. Let me get my highlighter out. Okay, so 2.4 is right there. That's huge. Okay, never mind, I guess I'm just going to use my pencil. So negative 2.4 is here. And what did I say again? I already forgot. 2.46. So now, that 6 though, we're actually going to go across and looking at the top here. I'm going to go across to where we have 6 because that's my hundredths place. So 2.46. So that gives me a percent of 0.0069. 0.0069. So what it's saying is that if I have a graph here of the standard normal curve, and we're looking at it, and so negative 2.46 is right here. This shaded part of the curve amounts to 0.0069, but that's our percent in a decimal form. So as an actual percentage, remember we move our decimal point 2 places to the right to change the decimal back to a percent. So it's really 0.69% of my data is in this tiny little section. So that's how you use the table. And then we can also use our calculator, which I'm actually going to go over when I'm in class, because I think it's a lot easier to do that in class than it is to do it on here. But I will also make a video on here to do it in your calculator. But let's look at one that's a little more difficult. So let's look at, whoa, did not know those were going to be together now. Let's look at Z is between negative 1.33 and 1.65. So let's look at those, because this will be a little bit different. So negative 1.3. So negative 1.33 we're going to find first. So negative 1.3 is here, going down to 3 again. So I have 0.0918, and then so this is actually to the left, so I'm shading to the left. So if this is negative 1.33, I'm shading this area, always, always, always. And then I'm going to go to the positive section, and I'm going to go to 1.65. So I'm going to shade that in a different color. Again, I'm still shading to the left of my line. So now let's figure out what that gives us. 1.6. So 1.6 is here. Oh, it looks way better in yellow. Okay, there's 1.65. Oops. And 5 looks to be about right here. So that gives us 0.9505. So this green section is actually 0.9505. But I don't want all that. What I want is just in between. So what I'm actually looking for is just this information between here. So how do I find that? Well, I'm going to take this small section and subtract it from our giant green section so that it leaves us with just this pink section here. So if I do that, I'm going to have 90.9505 minus 0.0918. And let me grab my calculator because I don't want to do math because it's too late. Subtracting. So that gives us a total of 8587. So the percentage of our curve that would be actually in pink here is 85.87% of the data, or the curve, is shaded. So that's how you use z-scores, and that's how you use a table. And you can look up, you can just Google z-score table, and it's going to come up for you, or a standard normal table, and it'll give you probably this exact picture. All right, so I'm going to talk about z-scores in more detail when I come to your class. So I will see you then.